Hey guys, meteorologist Chris Tomer here with this On the Snow Before You Go forecast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you get notified when these forecasts, my latest forecasts, come out. So this is always a tricky time of the year. Who's open, who isn't, when are all the resorts going to open? When are those dates? Well, you can check out onthesnow.com. They've got a whole list here, so On the Snow, and these are all of the open resorts right now. You can see the list. Obviously, Arapahoe Basin's been open for a while. There's Banff Sunshine as well. Breck's on the board. Copper, Keystone. Lake Louise is there. Loveland is now open. Mount Norquay. Nakiska, you've got Wild Mountain and Winter Park. And you can see where what the conditions look like and how many runs there are actually open right now. Of course, it's early season, so there aren't that many runs open. But look at, for example, Banff Sunshine, 37 runs open right now out of 140. It's been a good start up there, and there's definitely snow in the forecast, so check that out. All right, let's jump into this. I want to show you what the spider chart looks like. So each week I'm going to show you this. This is the odds of best snow, accumulating snow at these resorts over about a 7-day period. So this takes us from where we're at through the next weekend. It really gives you an idea. It doesn't give you specific amounts on this, but you can definitely see that areas in the Northeast are going to have better odds of accumulating snow. It's going to be quite cold up there as well for this time of the year. And those other areas will be Mammoth, Tahoe, Whistler, Bachelor, Crystal, Revelstoke. All those areas are going to be higher up. More purple, higher on the web, better odds of more snow. Schweitzer's going to be there. And then in the middle of the chart, with middle of the road odds, you've got areas in western and southwest Colorado, down to Monarch, Telluride, Wolf Creek. Also Alta, Snowbird, a lot of the Wasatch are in there as well. Lower, though, you see the rest of Colorado much, much lower. I just don't foresee as good of snow. So that's how you read that chart. All right, jumping into water vapor satellite imagery, I want to talk a little bit about the pattern. So when you see this, your oranges, reds, and blacks, it's going to be your drier air on this. The moisture's in the whites and the blues, and clearly that's right here. That's where the action is in the middle of the atmosphere. That's the flow. It's all being directed up here into BC right now. There's a big area of low pressure sitting right here, and it's helping to build this high pressure ridge that's starting to develop across a lot of the West. It's going to have a lot of staying power through probably the 12th. This big high with near record or record heat across the West does not bode well for about 4 days for a lot of the ski areas. But then after that, probably around the 13th, this low will break loose and hit the West Coast. 13, 14, and then it's going to send energy into the interior Rockies. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So it's a little bit of a waiting game before that happens. In fact, here are my bullet points. So big western high pressure, 11.9 through 11.12. On the other side of that, across the east, the northeast, the ski areas, we're going to see a deep eastern low with record cold and also some snow. Lake effect snow as well, all mixed in through the 12th. Now out west, we'll wait for the pattern to flip, and that could happen on or after 11.13. Now here are your best odds of snow. So if you were to say, okay, when are the best dates? When are the best chances of snow? Well, this is how you read it through Colorado, Tahoe, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, interior BC. So for example, in Colorado, you're going to have to wait a long time. There's a little bit of snow on the 14th, and then again, 11, 20, 21, 22, and 23. In Utah, very similar, 11, 14, 11, 19, 11, 21, 22, and 23. So that's how you read it. In Tahoe, you've got a big snow coming on the 13th, and then another one coming around 11:21. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the atmospheric pressure anomalies, the pattern up in the middle of the atmosphere. So this is effective on 11:10 Monday. So you're looking for highs and lows here. This is a significant drop in pressures across a lot of these. This is what I was talking about with the deep eastern low, the snow chances, and the potential for record cold. This represents much lower than normal atmospheric pressures. In fact, it's about -4 standard deviations below the 20-year norm. So this is significant. Record lows in snow. On the other side, there's our big western high. This is probably +2 as far as standard deviations go. So that's a pretty big high, but that's an even bigger low out there. So that's your pressure anomalies, atmospheric pressure anomalies. Now, this is the same thing on Friday, 11/14. Look at what's happening. The big western high has been dislodged. It's moved, and now we've got a big pressure drop here off the west coast. This would be bringing in significant precip into California, the high Sierra, the Pacific Northwest, and it would be sending in waves of moisture into the interior Rockies. That's on 11/14. One more map. This is 11/16. So a couple days later, it looks to me like the pattern, the flow is shifting. So you've got a split here, and then it splits over here. So you've got a low here, lower than normal pressures there, and low up here. So in between, not as much precip. This is where all the cold and snow is here, and also down here. So that'll be an interesting split in the jet stream if that actually plays out. That's on 11/16. Let's look at integrated vapor transport. This is effective for the central California coast. So this is trying to determine how much moisture, this is how we spot the atmospheric river, is going to hit the west coast. Finally, there's an area of low pressure, because right here, this is all high pressure. There's nothing going on. But this spike draws my attention. This looks like moderate to strong intensity atmospheric river potential. It's brief, but that's what could hit California around the 13th, and then some of that would get sent into the interior Rockies and affect other places. In fact, here's total precipitation. So this is about a 5-day forecast. Let me clear that. This takes us into next weekend. So initially, it's very dry, high pressure, but then the pattern breaks around 11, 13, 14, and 15. Look at that. We start to get heavy precip into California, Oregon, and it gets sent into Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado. This is as if everything fell as rain. This is what you would be looking at. Heavy precipitation up down the spine of the west coast, and then some of it gets moved into the interior. So let's look at it as far as snowfall goes. So this is snow. Notice, very dry at the beginning, high pressure. And then after about 13, 14, 15, big snow up and down the Sierra, Nevada snow, Utah snow, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana snow. Starts to pick up. So after the 13th, we start to see it take over the Intermountain. Now on this, anywhere you see the deep purple is at least 6 inches, most likely over 6. The brighter pink is about a foot. And where you see the whites, that's 2 feet. So you see some white there in the Sierra. You see some white up here in interior or parts of the coastal range of BC. You see some pretty good heavier shots there through interior BC, parts of Washington and the Cascades, central and northern Idaho, and also northwest Montana. So that's what you're looking at through about 5 days. All right, now here's how it looks graphically. This is my official snow forecast. So each week I'm going to put numbers on the map and show you what I think at these ski areas. Now, it's early season, so you really got to be in mid-mountain or higher to get these type of accumulations. So it's a little bit tricky when you forecast this early season. But keep in mind, most of what you see here falls after the 13th, on or after the 13th. Look at this. 10 to maybe 20, 1 to 2 feet there through the high Sierra. Over that on Shasta, of course, at higher elevations, you've got potentially 2 or 3 feet up here through a lot of the highest Cascades and the volcanoes, Whistler. And then there's a nice shot of interior BC snow and through Alberta as well, potentially 10 to 20 inches up there through the higher elevations. And some of that overruns central to northern Idaho, through Brundage and Schweitzer, and there is some up here. Now, there's a bit of a question mark in northwest Montana for me. There is going to be some overrun, but where's the rain-snow line going to end up? Will some of this be mostly rain, or will it be mostly snow? So that's another tricky part of this at those elevations. Probably 4 to 8 across the Wasatch. Now, you'll notice the split, and this I pointed out this earlier. So a lot of the moisture goes in this direction, and a lot of it goes in this direction. So western and southwest Colorado in particular, the San Juans get more. Parts of northern New Mexico get snow, 6 to 8 inches. So you can really see the pattern there. All right, let's look at the northeast. And let me change this just quick. There we go, change this over to 5. So let's look at the northeast. This is your 5-day snowfall in the northeast. There's a lot of little things to talk about. There's the big cold and the snow across a lot of the Midwest, and that drops down into parts of Kentucky and Tennessee as well. You've got lake effect snow coming off of Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario up here into parts of Buffalo, and over to Snow Ridge, potentially into Turin, New York. And look at all this snow up here around Tremblant and New Hampshire, Vermont. Those ski areas are off to a good start up around Jay Peak. I've seen some imagery up there. There's some really good stuff, people trying to ski already. And we could add to that. You see some of those bright pinks. I mean, that's potentially a foot of snow up there. So let's look at it as far as numbers in my official forecast. Through the 16th, a total accumulation, look at that, 8 to 12 inches through a lot of Vermont. A foot up in Tremblant, Jay Peak, Whiteface, Snow Ridge. Now, the question mark in my mind is how much of these numbers actually fall as snow versus rain? It's tough to tell. Good numbers on top of Mount Washington. Again, there's a rain-snow question up here through a lot of Cranmore, Sunday River, Sugarloaf, and I think it's going to be a little too warm down here for any accumulation in Massachusetts. But that's what I'm expecting up there in a lot of the Northeast. Another thing I'm going to show you each week are what are called these snow plume maps. So this is Mount Washington. This goes all the way out through November 24th. You can see it right here. This is an ensemble, so this is more of an ensemble mean. So these numbers may not match the numbers that I'm forecasting, but it gives you a general idea long term of sort of what we're looking at right down the middle of the road. Some of the air bars are up over a foot here for Mount Washington. So you can see it comes pretty steadily through that period. Let's look at Jay Peak. This has got over a foot through November 24th. So looking really good up on Jay Peak. Now the western story is one of high pressure. This is Jackson. This area right here, dry. This is all high pressure in here, so no snow accumulation. Then things increase and pick up after about the 14th there, and you can see maybe 14 inches up there by November 24th. My last stop is going to be Berthoud Pass in Colorado on the snow plume. Again, a pretty sad period, high and dry here through at least the 14th and the 15th, and then the numbers start to go up. Some of the air bars are well over a foot there through Berthoud Pass. So action comes in late for the West. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this On the Snow Before You Go forecast. Again, be sure to hit the subscribe button so you get notified when these updates come out. Guys, take care.